Welcome to our YouTube channel, In Our Basement. My name is Niels.
And I'm Gail. We're going to be having conversations and share our thoughts about things that we're really passionate about.
And just before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
And if you like the content, then feel free to share it on your social media platform.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of
In Our Basement.
Yeah, we're so excited.
In Our Basement.
Welcome here. We're going to redo the theme song and you're going to sing because that's not my thing.
Well, you're doing pretty good right now.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Wow, first episode of 2021. Happy New Year, although it's March.
Happy New Year, March. It's coming up on... Is in Winnipeg, is March break coming up too?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Probably maybe at the end of March.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Could depend on the pandemic, but
you never
know. You know. So, anyways, we're just excited for another episode and excited to be back at it, hanging out, talking with you all.
Yeah.
Grab a cup of coffee or tea or whatever, and let's have some fun.
Yeah.
I've missed doing this.
Yeah.
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 But
it's been a while.
Life's been full. And
yeah.
Why would you say, Gail, that recently, we kind of revealed in our last episode, but why would you say life has been fairly excitingly full these past few months?
It's been different.
Yeah, different. Yeah.
That's maybe a good word.
Different. That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
So, in our last episode, it was that there was no room in the crib.
In the inn, yeah. No crib for a bed.
No crib for a bed. Sorry. So explanation of why I'm so spacey is because not because, but oftentimes I can be a little spacey. But in the fall, we found that we have a little Jaya Sager coming to town.
What?
So
that is brand new information. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
It's quoting friends there. But.
So we have a little baby on its way and making this person right here, me, a little bit more tired. Mm-hmm. I did first trimester, super tired.
Yeah.
Second trimester, not so bad. Now I'm in third trimester, back to like super tired. And then
when's the next semester? Oh, trimester, sorry. I'm kidding. I couldn't resist.
I said trimester.
No,
right?
You did. I was just kidding. Just
and
play on words. The jokes haven't gotten better.
Fourth trimester, when baby is here, we'll be even more tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just kind of wanted to share with you some of the journey that we've been on recently with family planning and then with trying for a baby and then the pregnancy. And so, this episode might be done in 2 segments or maybe one long one. We'll see, but we're just going to have some fun and chat. And
stay tuned.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about how this all started with planning to expand our family beyond just the 2 of us, though the 2 became 1, but there's still 2 of us and now there's a little one.
Yeah. So like when we first, got together and we started talking about the ring and saying I do, we kind of, at least I think it's a good idea to talk about the way that you dream of your life being together. And
totally.
So something that we talked about was that we wanted to spend the first 2 years of our marriage together, just the 2 of us, so that we could really get to know each other and just create that foundation for a good family and enjoy that time together, just the 2 of us. And so I'd say we had a pretty good 2 years.
Yeah,
majority of it was up in Yellowknife.
Yeah, it was up in the true north.
Yeah, the true north. And so
where the northern lights are.
Yes. So then the time came around that it was going to be 2 years.
Right.
And right,
because we got married in October of 15. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know for myself, I was like, oh, shoot. I know I'm like, older than 20 years old and older than 25.
Yep. So far, so good.
But I was just still feeling like super nervous. Like, I don't think I'm ready to have a baby. And so I was super nervous. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think for me, I was maybe like excited for having a child and like starting that journey. But I think that there was part of me that was also scared, too, because like, you know, I grew up in a single parent home raised by my mom, who did a really great job raising me.
Yeah, she did.
But yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, look at what came about.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. So yeah, so that means that like I grew up in a home without a father, and so, you know, there's a lot of statistics on like the issue of fatherlessness and like what happens to kids who have grown up in a fatherless home. Thankfully, those who had a hand in raising me got to see me, you know, beat the odds of the statistics. And so there was also like just that insecurity that because I didn't know what it was like to have a dad raise me, I was maybe like nervous about like, you know, how am I going to do with this kid? I don't know. Like, am I going to screw this up? Because I didn't really have that home fatherly influence. I had a wonderful motherly influence, but no like physical father in the house to really like figure this out. So I guess it was just like my like insecurity in, which is fine, to process the reality of that, yeah, that it is kind of scary to be like, oh, I don't really know what it's going to be like to parent. But we have like, you know, friends of ours and our church and family who do know how to do this. And so we have that support. And I think like the story of my life is to be committed to change that trajectory. And so I kind of like made that commitment that like I want to change that trajectory in my lineage and have kids and raise them in a godly home.
And I think something too that you've got to give credit to is that you had a solid church family that really helped raise you. There was some decent, it's not decent, some great men that you've told me about that have really, and that I've met, that have done a great job in helping to shape you and to raise you up, give you that manly, like...
Big props to the church uncles and aunties.
Yeah.
I had Grandpa Carl, a Grandma Maureen.
Yeah.
You know, just solid men and leaders in my life that helped Neil's transition from becoming a boy to a man. Oh,
yeah.
No kidding. But
yeah. Was it Grandpa Carl who showed you how to shave?
No, he totally did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so it's like, that's the great thing about the church is that there are great people to stand in and step in. And so it's like you had those examples. And
because I had to learn how to shave because I was in Air Cadets. And so, yeah, I was like a teenager. And so like with cadets, they required you to be clean shaven. With the new military, they don't. What up? Grow a beard all you want. I love
what
you.
About Air Cadets?
I love it. I think the cadets have to be clean shaven, but I'm not really sure. No, I don't really know. But back in the day, like, you know, you had to be like clean shaven, and so like, yeah, I went over to Grandpa's house, Grandpa Carl, and I was like personally like just so shy and nervous, thinking like this is like so embarrassing, like I gotta get someone to teach me how to do this and such. But he was just like so cool. He's just like, oh yeah, boy, you know, you just apply it here and there and then just and then next thing you know, it was like all clean shaven, and then I knew how to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
you do a pretty good job at it, I gotta say. So yeah.
Thanks.
So props to Grandpa Carl.
Yeah, so I mean those are my for sure. And you know, like you know, those were my reservations, I think, at the time with becoming a dad. But, you know, I think like the excitement of like having kids, seeing kids like in our church in Yellowknife, it just got me so excited to like just know that, you know, to be on this path to feeling that call to fatherhood.
Yeah, I know for me it was like, I know that I feel like I've been gifted with motherly characteristics.
Yep.
And but at the same time I still didn't feel ready. And through a lot of prayer it was like a snap of a finger, and I feel like God just kind of gave me that desire of being a mother and to make that transition and to yes, the time is here. And like, it was just like all of a sudden I was no longer nervous so much as excited.
That's cool.
And it's crazy sometimes what can happen like that. It's not like I did jumping rope and all of a sudden it was like here. It was just like a whole spiritual thing, because that's just kind of what happens.
So when do you think like that transition like clicked for you?
I think it was probably towards the end of the summer or early fall, because this was 2018.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I went off to a little worship school in Sacramento.
Right. That was my guess, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember talking to somebody and just being like, man, we're talking about having kids and I don't feel ready. And I was just so nervous and so scared. And she just talks to me and she prayed for me. And it was just a journey that I think that I went on with God, and just he prepared my heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's like a really beautiful story. Because I think I remember you coming back from Hillside, right? And just
Sacramento.
like, in Sacramento, and just like feeling that like something had stirred inside of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for me, I don't really know when directly it was. I think I just knew that it was a process over the years while we were up in Yellowknife, you know, getting a lot of life experience, and also like growing, you know, ourselves.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, for some, it's not the right thing to do, but I think for us, it was really beneficial that we both went off to this new city that we had no connections with whatsoever.
Right,
well, I mean, you knew a couple people from military, but
practically no connections. Yeah.
But yeah, we went up to this new city. We had no idea. It was a very isolated city, so it was like you can't drive a few hours to go see other people in another town that you know. And so it was like, we started that new life together. And I think that was a really great rock foundation for our marriage too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally. So then next came the journey of like going on this sort of desire of now like trying for a child.
And so, like I had the expectations of like, I remember through our whole marriage, I was always like so nervous, like, okay, gotta be protected, gotta like,
right, yeah.
Pardon us for mature.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was like always like
we're talking about antivirus, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, gotta get vaccinated.
No, exactly.
So when it was time, it was like, okay, goalie's out of the net. Okay,
right.
Let's. And I was expecting to, like, you know, first try it's gonna work, but that was not the case. And because like I had the expectation, from what I knew, my family had it pretty good in like fertility, and it wasn't until later that I found out, there actually has been some difficulties. But it's, to this day, we don't really know exactly.
Right.
So we went through this whole journey.
Right.
And month after month, it was, no, not yet.
No, yeah.
And so.
Yeah, and it was like discouraging, especially at first, right? And I think for us, we just had to maybe like not like lose hope. And I think that there was times in which we were losing hope, even through prayer. But like even like after praying, I mean, you know, but then we really had to get to that point of like, you know, we're just going to trust God's timing in this and trust him in the process. Yeah,
and I know that like for a lot of people, you understand, like it's hard hearing that your friends are pregnant, your friends are having babies, and
that was definitely tough and discouraging.
And like, I definitely spent a few tears. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And
thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's because it's like, that's something that I always, growing up, was always like, okay, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna start a family, and it's gonna be great. And but it's like, you have dreams and you have aspirations, but it doesn't always come out the way that you think it's going to.
And I think like even the possibility of like you not getting pregnant right away, I think I might have like processed that, but not enough to the extent, like, because you know we weren't really successful for like almost.
It was just under 2 years.
Yeah, just under 2 years.
Yeah.
But I think at first I was just like what's happening? Like, what do you mean? Like this isn't working, right? And you know, and my friend had said like to me jokingly, like, when are you gonna pull the goalie? I was like, I'm pretty sure we're doing everything right.
Yeah.
And it did take me a couple times to figure out what that meant, but eventually I understood. Oh, Canada, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, months and months went by. I remember, this is a really cool story where I was at Camp Lake Louise in Michigan, and I remember in 2019, that was when I went to camp to serve as a cabin leader, and a lot of the kids came from fatherless homes. And I remember on the last day of, or maybe the second last day of camp, we were doing devotions. And I'm thinking like, you know, I hope to see these people again, but like, you know, I decided, you know what, like, I just actually shared with them because we hadn't really, you know, shared with anyone, but I just said, because, you know, it's like when you're far away and you're like, you know, you can share something like deep and personal, whatever, right? And so I just said, hey guys, like, you know, my wife and I were trying for a kid. I don't even know if I said it'd been a year, but I would just like love some prayer for that. And I remember, oh my gosh, like these like 4 or 5 teenagers and then the other cabin leader, they just like laid hands on me and prayed, and then we still like waited another year. But I remember that moment just being like so powerful. I remember one of the like kids being like, Niels, man, you're like our cabin leader, but man, you're like a dad, man. You've been like a dad to us all week. I'm like, thanks. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? No, I'm kidding. But like I knew they meant well, right? So it's like, that was like really cool encouragement to have along the way. I think, the point that I was getting at is that I felt like as the months went by with the expectation of when and if we were going to have a child, or even consider like, you know, adoption or fostering or things like that, you know, I felt like the more and more that time went by, the more and more God was like preparing in me like more of the father's heart, and such for raising kids. And so, you know, we still have no idea what to expect, but I just felt like more and more that like something was stirring in me, and I was just like learning more and more of God's heart for this.
Yeah, like it's, you get pregnant and that's like the beginning, but you don't really know until it arrives, until the arrival. But yeah. So
then now we have like now left Yellowknife and we've moved to Winnipeg.
In our basement.
Yeah. And then so I remember I discussed with my doctor about like talking about infertility, and just saying like, because I think, oh yeah, that's right, at this point after moving to Winnipeg we would have crossed like the 1 year mark. Well over. And I remember bringing this up to our doctor, and he sent me for some testing, and then in April we got connected with the doctors who help you out with like infertility, right? And so it was the Heartline Clinic, the only real fertility clinic in Winnipeg from what I know. And I remember because of the COVID situation and it being April, it was a phone call.
It was the beginning.
Like the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had like just shut down the like in-person.
I was so nervous about having a phone call appointment about such a sensitive topic.
Yeah. It was like, you just want to talk? Like, is that going to do anything? And you figuring out like, but like we had blood tests and whatnot, and it just like everything came back normal. Like we're two healthy adults, and so exactly. Yeah, it was tough.
I remember, this is why I'm laughing. I remember he asked a question that really lightened the mood, and then first he's like got a little bit of information, and then he's like, okay, Mr. Niels, Mrs. Gale, how often do you light the candles? And I'm like, did he just ask what I think he asked?
Thanks for joining us today in our basement.
Yeah, and before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and share this content in your social media platforms. And we hope to see you next time in our basement.